What if life feels paused simply because you're trying to reason your way into a reality that only answers to what you feel? This is the hidden flaw of manifestation as it's usually taught. The assumption that knowledge is what creates shifts, that if you just learn enough, think bright enough, repeat long enough, then eventually life will follow. But the field doesn't move by what you know. It moves by what you embody, by what your nervous system accepts as already here. That is the heart of this message. Nothing becomes real until you feel it real. Take that in. Your future, where you're already loved, already thriving, already free, doesn't activate because you hope or analyze or even believe. It activates the moment your feeling merges with it. The instant your inner world stops needing proof and begins living from presence. Because the quantum field isn't persuaded by mantras. It aligns with coherence. Coherence is when your thoughts and emotions carry the same message. When your mind isn't declaring abundance while your gut still trembles, "I'm not safe." When your body still pulses fear while your lips repeat, "I trust the universe." That isn't alignment. That's dissonance. And the field reflects the strongest frequency, not the prettiest phrase. Which explains why so many people confess, "I've done the inner work, but nothing's shifting." Because on the outside the effort shows, yet beneath it the feeling is still wired to the past, still locked into the familiar discomfort of who they once were. And emotion, not intention, is what crystallizes potential into form. You don't manifest what you claim. You don't manifest what you've studied. You manifest what you embody as already done. So the real question becomes, what are you actually feeling most of the time? If you're still waiting, still doubting, still scanning reality for signs, then your frequency is still aligned to delay. And delay is the emotion of separation, of not yet, of almost. And the field mirrors that. Here's what they never explained. Emotion isn't just feedback, it's an instruction. When you dwell in fear, you lock into the path where fear rules. When you dwell in joy before the reason arrives, you merge with the version of you where joy is already justified. Neville Goddard called it living from the end. He didn't mean acting. He meant feeling so vividly into the outcome you choose that your body, your breath, your signal can no longer separate it from this moment, not because you're faking, but because the field requires that degree of certainty to respond. So let's be direct. If you're still waiting for proof to feel different, you're caught in the loop. You're making your state depend on the evidence. Yet in the quantum field, it's the state that births the evidence. This is why certain people manifest with ease, not because they're lucky or unique, but because they've trained their emotions to lead reality, not chase it. They embody the feeling first, and reality organizes around it, and you can too. In the next section we'll explore exactly how this works. You'll see how emotion is the language the quantum responds to, and how your body serves as the bridge between desire and manifestation. We'll decode what it truly means to feel it real, and how emotion becomes a precision tool to shift timelines. But for now, ask yourself, what am I feeling by default unconsciously, consistently, that's anchoring me in the reality I claim I want to escape? Because until the state changes, you're simply rewriting the same script with new words. You've heard that thought creates reality, but that's only partial, because a thought without emotion is like a radio wave without power. It's present, but it travels nowhere. It carries no energy. It shapes nothing. It never communicates with the field. But when thought fuses with emotion, genuine, embodied coherence, it becomes a transmission, and that transmission is what collapses possibility into substance. Emotion isn't just an echo. It's a directive, a vibrational key that informs the field. In the quantum domain, where everything is waves until observed, it's emotion that condenses those waves into particles, into events. You don't observe with sight, you observe with state. And your state is always measured by what you feel, not only what you think. This is why emotion isn't secondary. It's the selector. It tells the universe's quantum computer which version you're tuned to. Let's enter the science. Each thought generates a chemical trace. If neutral, the chemistry is light, almost background, but once charged with emotion, especially strong states like love, fear, gratitude, or shame. It triggers cascades of hormones, neurotransmitters, electromagnetic surges. This shifts not only your body, but your field. Joe Dispenza explains that when your heart and brain synchronize, when emotions align, your electromagnetic field becomes measurable, ordered, expansive. You cease being just a body. You become a beacon, and what radiates from you begins shaping the moment ahead. Bruce Lipton expands it further. He shows how your emotions literally reprogram your biology. Genes switch on or off depending on your emotional baseline. You're not simply managing moods. You're rewriting cells, brainwaves, outcomes, and more emotion carries outward force. When you feel deeply, the energy doesn't remain inside. It projects outward, radiating like sonar, bouncing against the field and returning with a match. That match might be a call, a chance, a breakdown, a breakthrough. But it doesn't come because you thought hard enough. It comes because you felt strong enough. This is what Neville meant with, feeling is the secret. He wasn't poetic. He was describing the mechanism. Feeling stamps the thought as true, not to your logic, but to your subconscious, and therefore to the field. Because the field reflects you, not your lists, not your plans, not your affirmations, but your current signal. And that signal is emotion. The key is not random feeling. The crucial piece is the baseline, the state you return to when you're not performing. That's what the field measures. That's what your body broadcasts endlessly. Not the brief peak when you whisper gratitude, but the constant tone beneath. Are you vibrating from lack or fullness, from delay or certainty, from restlessness or calm knowing? Because what you feel most often is the frequency your system stays locked to. And the field doesn't argue. It doesn't care what you intend. It echoes what you carry. Here's the radical shift. You don't need more methods. You need emotional alignment. You don't need brighter thoughts. You need to feel the new you now. And you don't need evidence to create feeling. You need feeling to create evidence. This isn't delusion. It's design. It's how quantum possibility collapses into material form. And the interface is you. Your heart, your body, your nervous system. That's the instrument. That's the transmitter. Feelings aren't fluff. They are the dashboard, the command center of your timeline. So the real inquiry is, what feeling do you serve? And is that feeling recycling your past or calling your future? In the next section, we'll explore how most of us are bound emotionally, not by present reality, but by old states. You'll see how the body memorizes outdated signals and keeps recreating timelines. Not because you're flawed, but because you haven't trained it into new feeling yet. Because once you do, the game changes. Few things sting more than knowing what you want, setting intentions, doing the work and still repeating the same outcomes. And you ask, what's wrong? The issue usually isn't goals or plans or mindset. It's emotional memory. Most people don't live present. They live echoes, replaying feelings from years ago. Not willingly, but because the body coded them as familiar, and what's familiar feels like home, even when it hurts. This is the emotional inversion, the habit of trying to build new futures while stuck in old emotions. You want to leap timelines, but your nervous system is tuned to betrayal, failure, disappointment. So your subconscious insists, this is me, this is safe. And the field answers, not to what you hope, but to what you've practiced. Here's the truth you face: you're not feeling what's real, you're making real what you feel. Once the body locks into stress, anxiety, shame, it broadcasts that signature. That broadcast becomes your cosmic address, and life, like GPS, delivers accordingly. You don't draw what's ideal, you draw what's active. And for most, what's most active is the past. So you wake dreaming of goals, but your emotions are tied to yesterday's fight, last month's loss, or a childhood script whispering, I fail. So even while visualizing abundance, your body is transmitting contradiction. That's why patterns repeat, not from curse, but because frequency hasn't shifted. You're transmitting the same identity while wishing for a new one. And the field doesn't reward effort. It reflects alignment. If your heart holds the old state, the field supplies the old life. Science and spirit agree. Your body can't distinguish between real events and remembered ones. Reliving a moment fires the same neurons, releases the same chemistry, transmits the same field. You're not reacting to now. You're reacting to memory and calling it reality. This is the emotional cage. And the hardest part, it feels normal because your identity formed around those states. So even good things meet resistance, not because you reject them, but because they don't match your baseline. They don't feel safe. You stall, you sabotage, you delay, not by choice, but by emotion. This is why the deepest shift isn't a new affirmation or vision board. It's breaking the loop that whispers, "This is just how I feel," because that isn't truth. It's programming, and programming can be rewritten. But it requires a different loyalty, not mental, but emotional. You must commit to the feeling of the future more than the safety of the past. You must train your body to live the new state before it sees the proof. That is the inversion to flip. You've been waiting for life to create the feeling. Quantum reality says you must feel it first. Not once, not casually, but daily, intentionally. And that's the practice we'll explore next. A ritual that collapses the new you by teaching your body to feel it now. But pause first. What emotions have you normalized that don't belong to the self you're becoming? And are you willing to release even the familiar, if it means embodying the future? Because once you do, reality reorganizes. There's a hidden passage between where you are and where you long to be. It doesn't unlock through logic, effort, or desire. It unlocks when your body experiences the future as if now, when your nervous system quits waiting for proof and starts radiating belief, when feeling shifts from memory to magnet. That is the moment timelines bend. Not because the world outside changed, but because you did. And that's the essence of this chapter. Not more theory, but an embodied ritual that tunes your frequency. No forcing, faking, or straining, just intentional feeling, collapsing a new version of you not by harder thought, but deeper presence. Because here's the quantum law. The field doesn't match what you think you deserve. It mirrors what you emotionally accept as normal. If you're still waiting for the world to shift before you allow yourself to shift, you're postponing. But when you pre-feel, when you let your body taste freedom, wholeness, love now, you declare to the field this self already exists. And the field organizes around that. This isn't fantasy, it's programming. Here's the practice. Sit quietly, close your eyes, bring awareness to your heart. Don't analyze, just sense. Pick the reality you want to embody. Be exact. Not, "I want abundance," but "I feel secure, flowing, provided." Not, "I want love," but "I feel chosen, cherished, safe." Then drop the words. Move into sensation. Ask, what would my body feel like if this were already real? Let the state rise naturally. Don't force. Notice warmth, ease, expansion. Let it spread. Breathe with it. Smile into it. Let it fill you, not to convince, but to remember. Whisper silently, "I feel it now." Remain for minutes. Let the body memorize. Let it become familiar. Let it feel safe. Then open your eyes. Carry that version through your day. This is more than energetic. It's neurological. Each time you feel from future instead of reacting from past, you carve a new brain pathway, a new heart set point, a new field signature. Repetition locks it in. The aim isn't perfection. The aim is intentional loyalty to the self that already exists, even before life confirms it. And eventually it will. Your task isn't watching the clock. Your task is keeping the signal alive. The more you stabilize that frequency, not once a month, but as a lifestyle, the quicker the world rearranges. People shift, money flows, ideas land, not from forcing, but because you embodied the cause. You didn't wait, you felt it first. And the field mirrored, so it's your turn. Now, not later. Drop into that state. And when it arrives, however subtle, let that be your new baseline. Let it be your code. Comment below, "I feel it real now." Make it your declaration, your signature, proof that the shift is underway. In the next section, we'll reveal what follows the shift, how timelines react to sustained coherence, and why consistent emotional state is your greatest tool for stepping into new reality. But for now, don't think the future. Feel it. Stay tuned. There's more ahead. Right now, there is a version of you living the life you seek. Not theory, not someday, but vibrationally present in the quantum. That self isn't doubting, isn't chanting affirmations. isn't waiting. For them, it's simply normal. And the only gap between you and them is emotion. Because in the quantum, shifting timelines isn't about more effort, not about longer visualizations or deeper meditations. It's about resonance. Timelines move not by thought, but by feeling. That feeling is the selector, the activator, the code that unlocks the self who has arrived. Let's make it tangible. Every timeline, every version of you carries a frequency. That frequency isn't outer appearance, it's inner sensation. The abundant you doesn't just have money, they feel secure, relaxed, generous. The loved you doesn't just have a partner, they feel safe, radiant, open. And the field doesn't deliver what you want. It grants access to what you match. So the key question is, which emotions are you rehearsing daily? Not which you hope for, but which you repeatedly fuel. If you wake with anxiety, if you scan reality for signs, if you oscillate between doubt and hope, those states attune you to timelines where they're valid. Not because you're flawed, but because you're consistent. And the field responds to consistency. Your dominant state becomes your vibrational home, and home creates reality. This is why unworthiness often blocks manifestation. Desire says yes, but emotion says no. And the field, always loyal, answers the no, because that's the stronger broadcast. This is the missing link. People think they must become someone new. In truth, they just need to feel like the one who already has it. Not perfectly, just often enough for the body to trust it and the field to receive it. Because here's how it works: a new emotion sends a new signal. That signal starts a feedback loop. The more you feel it, the more evidence appears. The more evidence appears, the stronger your belief. And belief isn't cause, it's confirmation that you became the match. Emotion bridges potential and embodiment. It's not feedback, it's access. And this is where things shift. You don't need to wait for change to feel the way you desire. You can feel on command. And in that instant you collapse into the timeline. The new you doesn't arrive, you arrive to them. Think of emotion as a password. Each reality requires a code, and the code is always emotional, not intellectual. You can study abundance forever, and still lack it if you never allow yourself to feel abundant. You hold the key, but refuse to turn the lock. So how to shift? Stop waiting for evidence. Start practicing the state. Become emotionally loyal to the self who lives what you desire, not by acting, but by choosing again and again until the body forgets the old. And once it does, something powerful happens. You stop needing the change, and it lands. You stop checking the mirror, and it reflects you. You stop proving, and people sense your presence, because the field no longer sees you as someone becoming. It sees you as being, and being bends timelines. This isn't motivational fluff. It's quantum fact. You don't need to force outcomes. You need to stabilize states. And state is emotional. In the last section, we'll bring all into focus. The only delay between you and your future is emotional hesitation. Once you fully feel it as real, consistently, deeply, unapologetically, you realize the timeline has shifted. You won't chase it. You'll be in it. There comes a turning point when you stop asking, when, and start living, now. Not to trick the universe, but because you've remembered the truth. Nothing manifests until you feel it real. This is the shift from striving to embodying, from hoping to knowing. Because now you see what most never do. Reality doesn't reflect effort. It reflects emotional identity. Who you are in the unseen moments. That's what the field mirrors. You don't need another tool. You don't need another system. You need to live as if the future is present. Not as a performance, but as permission. Permission to feel peace before it arrives. Permission to feel love before it knocks. Permission to feel wealth before accounts confirm. Because what you feel, you fuel. And what you embody, you become. The field doesn't ask for perfection, only for coherence. When thought, feeling, and energy align, manifestation isn't effort. It's collapse into the timeline always waiting. So ask, can I trust feeling over facts? Can I remain in state when evidence lags? Can I remember who I am when the world reflects who I was? That is mastery. That is work. That is the new frequency. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop needing the old self to vanish, the new one arrives. Not because life changed, but because resistance ended. You stopped seeking, fixing, postponing. You began embodying. This is the culmination. Not more steps, but deeper stillness. A state where you no longer chase because you already feel it. And by feeling, you collapse it. Not in concept, but in biology, in field, in timeline. This isn't fantasy. It's how quantum works.